Now, coming back again with this website and web pages, now we had a difference between a website and a web page, correct? Developing website slash web pages, I'll give. As I told you, web page is a single document. Okay, single document that is going to contain a limited information. So, for example, a feedback form or login form. It would be doing its specific task. Okay, single document. And what is a website? Collections of web pages. So basically, a multiple web pages is going to contain a website collection of web pages. Yes. Now, to create this web page or a website, it can be anything. It can be a web page or a website. Starting, we would be discussing, like we will have an understanding on how to create a web page, and then slowly we'll take it to a website. Okay. Now, to establish or to create a web page or a website, we also need a tool, right? We also need a tool, and before that, we also need to have a language. There should be a language which would be helping me to develop a web page or a website. Do you have any idea what is the language we are going to use? HTML, correct? Yes, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, correct. React, etc. Great. So currently, as we are starting from the basic level, so we would be understanding about the HTML. Okay. So many other concepts are being used like React, Node.js, SQL, everything comes one by one. We will try to explore. So currently, HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. Okay. This is not a programming language. There is a clear difference between a markup language and a programming language. So programming language is going to deal with the code, syntax, okay, conditions, control structures, and so on. Libraries, frameworks. But whereas the markup language, which is going to deal only with the tags, it's much more simpler. Okay, so building a web page is easier, but making into a better structure, making it to user interaction, designing, then it comes complicated. Okay, so HTML, as again I'm going to repeat, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's not a programming language, it's a markup language. That means it is going to deal with the tags. Okay, so more on the tags when we look into the practical, I'll give you an overview what are the tags. So currently understand it's going to deal with the open and a closing tags. Okay, now to write these tags, okay, where do I write this? Where do I implement all of those tags? So there multiple tools are available online. So you can use any tool. Only if you're familiar, you can go ahead and use. If you're not familiar, then I would recommend you all to use a VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Okay. It's basically an editor or an application where you can run a code, debug it, and then get your code done. Okay. Get your output or build an applications. So Visual Studio Code. So I'll also show you how to install it, and then everybody quickly install it, and then we can get into the practical. So VS Code, download. Okay. So just go ahead. I'm sharing this link also in the chat box. Everybody, just if you need it. So you, based on your operating system, go ahead and try to download it. Okay. Once you're downloaded, let me know. Then I'll tell you what is the next step that need to be followed. Just make it quick and update me. Okay. If you already have it done it, great. We'll just wait for another 4 more minutes. Okay. Let us wait for our friends as well. Then we can begin. Then we can continue. What is the use of GitHub? GitHub is basically a version control system. So if you want to work in a team, okay, you're working on some product, and I have like For example, I have worked on some project and I want to share you the code. So I'll use a GitHub medium. And if I'm doing any modifications to my code, you'll be able to have an access to it using a GitHub. As a team, if you want to work and get updated, we can use a, is it the connection with people? Is it like connection with people? Um, yeah, kind of, yeah. So if you want to just tell what is available to you, like, like what happens is, for example, others can download it, okay? I'll just provide GitHub. So GitHub, I want to search for some sample website. Okay. Sample web development. Code I'll give. See here? There is a sample mini project website is available in the GitHub. Okay. What is happening here is they have created their account. They have all the codes available over here. What I can do, I can just go ahead, try to log in and get the code and implement on my web page. So it's all about the connections also. Yeah, you can do it. It's all about like uh, it- working as a team and getting updated. Can- And we will also be using a GitHub, okay, and we will be hosting a website. That is, we'll put online and we'll try to connect to the server. In the upcoming class, we'll try to discuss about it. Shall I move forward? Okay, I'll just move forward. And what are the concepts we're going to learn in the upcoming class also? I'll just give an overview, just an overview, like what exactly we would be learning in the upcoming class. And then I'll take you through the practical, okay? So before that, we need to understand what is client and what is server, okay? A simple concept only, okay? Try to understand. Those who already knew it, great. So client is something like where a user interaction takes place. Okay. That means user interaction is nothing but where a user go as I am a user right now. What I'll do, I'll open the browser and I search for some data. Okay. I request a data like as I was requesting on google.com/about is request. I place it on my browser. And what happens? It goes to the server, fetch the data. Server is the backend. Client is the front end. Okay, front end means where a user interaction takes place is the front end. Backend is where the data have been processed, verified, validated, data are stored is the backend. Okay, I'll also make a note of it. Front end where you see the data and do the more and try to interact. Front end. Back end is you'll not have an access to the back end. Only the here administrator level, admin level only you'll have an access. So what happens in the back end is you'll be able to fetch the data. So it has a data stored in it. Database is nothing but where exactly the data are going to be stored. Database are being stored. Now I'm searching for google.com, right? In the browser, I'm searching for google.com. So this google.com in the browser, I'll search, this data is sent to the server, verify it, okay? Verify, okay, google.com is something available. Yes, it is available. Then fetch the data, and that data has been displayed in my browser. Now, what happens in the front end? I would be able to see the data. And now, if I want to click on any products or any applications, and what happens? I'll click on it. I'll be able to have those interaction taking place. Okay. So, in the front end, what are the topics we would be discussing is we would be discussing about learning about HTML. CSS would come under the designing phase, JavaScript, okay, and React concept. React is the framework which is used inside the JavaScript. JavaScript is not like it's front end or back end, it's basically used in the front end and in the back end. Okay. And in the server end is going to be like processing the data, like how the data need to be stored on the server, how are you going to fetch the data on the server. So those things are being done in the back end part. So what are the concepts we are going to learn is we would be discussing about the SQL for storing of the data. Then we will be understanding about the Node.js, which is going to be a server-side environment. Then we would also discuss about in Node.js, Express module, API concept comes and API concept will understand. Then Django framework also will try to understand. Django is a framework which is used in Python. So we will see one on the scripting language, the other one on the programming language. Okay, SQL is something which help you in storing up the data. And Django is going to be it is going to be also a framework, backend programming framework, which is used in the Python. More on that we will understand in the later on. Okay. So this is a complete overview. Now, moving forward with the VS Code. Okay, once everybody downloaded the VS Code, the next thing is the installation process. Installing also, it's very easy. You just need to double click on the tool which which you have downloaded. Just double click on it. It would be navigating you to installation. Just click on next. First, I agree. There would be a checkbox. Okay, I accept checkbox. Check the box and move forward just by clicking next, 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 and finish it up. Okay, everybody done with that installation? If you're done, just give a thumbs up to that message, then we can move forward. Okay, I will move forward and let me open a VS Code. Now, what are we going to do is we would be creating a directory. We would create a folder and a file. Okay. So file, everybody, file, open folder. In the open folder, I'm going to create my folder. Okay. The multiple I've created already. I'll just create a new folder. Why am I creating a new folder is so that I keep a track on the files, whatever I created. So I'll just use June, any file name, okay, June underscore. And this is fine. I'll just open this database. Open file, open folder. Okay, open the folder. Then we would create up a file. Okay. So whenever you're creating an HTML file, whenever you want to develop a web page, the extension of a file is going to be .html. Okay. And the file name can be anything, but when you're like hosting it on the server, it should be index.html. So that is considered as a root directory. Okay. A root file or main file. So currently we are not hosting it anything on the server. We are locally creating a file. So I would just give it as, so you have 2+ mark. Okay. One is for creating a new file. The other one is for creating a folder. So currently I've already created one common folder. I'll create a file. So I'll create day1.html. HTML is an extension which is used for developing a web page, and hit enter. Okay. After this, just use shift+1. You get an exclamatory symbol. Shift+1. You get an exclamatory. Just then hit enter. Okay. This is something like you can tell a skeleton or it's a structure. Okay. Where a web page is being created. Using this tags only, we would be able to build our application. Okay, everybody create a folder, create a file, and inside the file, use the exclamatory symbol and hit enter. And once you're done with this all, let me know, and then we'll proceed. Is it done? Okay, I'll just move forward. Done. Great. So let us try to understand this one. Okay. So here, whenever you take any of the website and just right click on the website, and you have an option called view page source. One minute. Yeah, view page source. Okay, just go ahead and try to click on view page source, and you'll be able to see uh, the HTML code. It's not only HTML, the other languages like JavaScripts are being implemented. So currently, it would be starting with the doc type HTML. Okay, so let us try to understand the structure. So your HTML is going to begin with the doc type HTML. Okay, that is going to define the type of the document which we are trying to create. So here we are creating a HTML file. Okay, and then it begins with the open tag of HTML and closing tag. So open tag does not contain any slash in it. Closing tag contains a forward slash. So when there is a closing tag, when there is a slash forward slash, that means it is a closing tag. Okay, and what is lang in en language English? By default English is going to be considered. So if you give, if you don't give, by it's going to be the same. Okay, whatever the contents you want to add, everything is going to be written inside this HTML tag itself. Okay, so this HTML tag is going to contain two different tags in it. What are those? One is head tag, the other one is body tag. Head tag is nothing but the additional information which you want to add on the web page. What is the additional information? That is going to be a title of your web page. Okay, whatever this data which you write, that's not going to be displayed on the web page. But still, why do I write it? It's for the me to understand. Okay, when you're sharing the code to your faculty or the teacher, so they should understand what is this document is all about. If you're writing a report, okay, you're creating some report, what do? You just highlight your project name, right? So to understand, okay, what by seeing the project name, at least we'll get some idea, right? So same over here in the title, if I'm giving my web page, or I'm creating a sign in page or feedback page or whatever in the document, so to understand the source code better, we'll be using this title. Okay, the title element represent the document's title or name. Authors should use this title that identify the documents even when they are used out of context. For example, you can just go read about it. Okay, then we have a meta tag. Meta tag is used for search engine optimization in Google. The first thing what happens is, if you're creating a web page, you want the users to get access to your website easily. So you'll be using a shortcut keys, or you'll be using some keywords to fetch the data. Okay, so I'm telling, using a meta tag. First is character set. Okay, character set is how is your characters, how is the data being defined. So we are defining it that we are trying to tell that the authors are encouraged to use the character encoding standard, basically, where we are using letters, digits, those things. Okay, then coming to the meta name viewport. Viewport is nothing but the application is accessible in different dimension. One minute. See here, when I right click on this page, right click, inspect, there is something called as dimension. Okay, when you click on this dimension, there are different dimension like iPad mini and Surface Pro something. You have Samsung Galaxy. So these are the different views, different dimensions. So viewport is, it's accessible in different ports, different viewpoint. And the content, how is your content to be displayed? Okay, what is the width we are trying to apply? What is the initial scale? Where do you want your content to be placed? Are the information? These are the additional information which you're trying to add on your source code, and that is not going to be reflected on the web page. It's all for the search engine optimization. It help your browser to fetch the data using the keyword. Okay, using the keyword, it will be easy for you to fetch the data. So that is the reason we'll be using the meta tag. Okay, now coming to body tag. So body tag is nothing but whatever the content which you see on the website. So I see image, I see an image, I see the contents, right? I see a video. Those things, those are being added inside this body tag. They've been put inside the body tag. Okay. Body tag is nothing but, in simple, the elements which you, or the contents which you want to place and want to make it visible in the web page are being put inside the body tag. Okay, got an idea, everyone? Any doubts? Okay. Now the extension which we want to install is, there's few extension which we want to install. Why? To see our output, to like when I'm writing the code and to make sure whether it's working all fine, we need to have some extension installed. So towards your right left hand side, okay, you have Explorer, Search, Source Control, Run and Debug, and Extension. So click on the extension and internal CSS. We'll just move forward and try to understand about the external CSS and what are the other CSS property which have been used. Okay, what I'll do is I would try creating a H1 tag. Okay, welcome all is the content which I'm going to add. Welcome all is the content. Now I'm going to use I would not be implementing the CSS property inside the tag. I would be implementing these properties in the external CSS file. Okay, I'll create one external CSS. A file name can be anything, but the extension should be .css. Okay, so external .css, and I would be using an internal CSS. I mean, like I would be using a h1 tag and apply the background color to it. Background color might be a red and black color. Okay, but still, I'm not able to see any reflection. I mean, like the data, the web page has not been updated over here. Correct. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead with defi.html and I'll try to link this. So external CSS, what happens is, why are we using external CSS? To have a clear separation between between the HTML file and the CSS file. So when you're working on the real-time project, what happens is writing all of the data in one single file, it would be difficult for you to debug the errors. Okay. So if you have HTML, CSS, everything written in a same file, what happens? Like you'll be having a issue or you'll be facing difficulties in resolving it. If there is any error, then it will be difficult for you to resolve it. So that's the reason we would be mostly using an external CSS where we have a clear separation between a HTML code and the CSS property. Okay. Now I want there two different files are created. Now I want them to be interconnected with each other so that I would be able to see the code or the output reflecting on the web page. Okay, so for that I would be using a tag called link tag. So basically link is I'm trying to link. What are we trying to link is I'm linking up the external file. Okay, hyperreference. So it can be a URL or it can be a file name. So basically I have a file name called external.css, and what is the relationship between the attached file and the current file? So the relationship is basically we are trying to create one style sheet. Okay, we are going to create one style sheet. That's it. Now you are able to see a CSS property reflecting on the web page. Everybody are getting it? Let me know. Okay, so I'll just move forward. So now we will try to decrease this content. Okay, so I'll try to align up the data in the center of the web page using text align in the center. Okay, this is one thing. Like, we have seen how to add a background color to the content. Okay, so if you want to add a background color to the entire web page, then I would go ahead and try to use a body tag and use a background color, say blue. So as I told you, inside the body tag, if you use a body tag, what happens? The entire web page is also getting updated, correct? So we are using a background color and the color of it. So making sure that I use a light colors. Yes. Okay. This is one way. And like if you want to add up a background color, sorry, background image. So control let's forward slash background image followed with the URL, uniform resource locator. So we're going to attach the URL over here. Okay. It can be a file name or it can be a URL. Anything would be, anything can be. Okay. And right click, copy the image link I have. Okay, copy image link. Address I need actually. Okay. So I'll just copy the image link and you will be able to see the image is added on the web page. I'll just open it in the browser, right click, open with live server. Yeah, this is how it is going to look like. If you want to position, I'll also additional to it, I'll also use a property called fix this position. So I'll use background size as cover, background size as cover, and background position as center. Okay. Center is not required, I guess. This I'll remove it. And sometimes what happens, the image would be repeated multiple times. To avoid the repetition of the image, I'll use background, repeat. Okay, if you want your image to be repeated in X position, then I'll use repeat hyphen X. If you want to repeat your image in Y position, then I'll use repeat hyphen Y. If you don't want your image to be repeated, then I'm going to use as no repeat. Okay, as no repeat. Okay. So this is one way. Everybody just make a note and let me know once you're done with it.